Want to know if your Japanese skills are improving and what your real learning level is? Get your language skills assessed with our free level assessment test. Just click the link in the description and sign up for a free lifetime account to get assessed.
Let's review the key vocabulary.
暖かい、
Warm,
暖かい、暖かい。いい天気、
nice weather.
いい天気。
This phrase is made up of two words,
いい、
meaning good,
いい、いい。天気、
weather,
天気、天気。
Let's review. Respond to the prompts by speaking aloud. Then, repeat after me, focusing on pronunciation. Ready? Do you remember how to say hot? 暑い、暑い。And the sentence ending particle that's used to build consensus? ね、ね。Do you remember how to say today? 今日、今日。And the topic marking particle? は、は。Do you remember how Karen says, "It's hot today, isn't it?"
今日は暑いですね。
今日は暑いですね。Do you remember how Ichika Ishikawa agrees by saying, "It is, isn't it?"
そうですね。
そうですね。Do you remember how to say, "Good weather"? いい天気。いい天気。And how to say cold? 寒い。寒い。
Let's review the key words.
晴れ、
Sunny,
晴れ、晴れ。曇り、
cloudy,
曇り、曇り。
Let's review. Respond to the prompts by speaking aloud. Then, repeat after me, focusing on pronunciation. Ready? Do you remember how to say rain? 雨、雨。Do you remember how Karen Lee says, "It's rainy"?
雨です。
雨です。Do you remember how to say weather? 天気、天気。And a topic marking particle? は、は。Do you remember how to say how? どう、どう。 And the question marking particle? か か Do you remember how Mickey Mori asks, How's the weather?
天気はどうですか？
天気はどうですか Do you remember how to say sunny? 晴れ晴れ And how to say cloudy? 曇り曇り Do you remember how to say snow? 雪雪
わかりません。
I don't understand.
わかりません。書いてください。
Please write it down.
書いてください。
Let's review. Respond to the prompts by speaking aloud. Then repeat after me, focusing on pronunciation. Ready? Do you remember how to say, Excuse me? すみません。すみません。And how to say, one more time. もう一度。もう一度。Do you remember how to say, please? お願いします。お願いします。Do you remember how Sasha says, Excuse me, one more time please?
すみません。もう一度お願いします。
すみません。もう一度お願いします。Do you remember how to say slowly? ゆっくり。ゆっくり。Do you remember how Sasha says, Slowly please?
ゆっくりお願いします。
ゆっくりお願いします。Do you remember how to say, Nice to meet you? はじめまして。はじめまして。Do you remember how Shin Ishikawa introduces himself?
はじめまして、石川です。
はじめまして、石川です。Do you remember how to say, Please write it down? 書いてください。書いてください。
Let's review the key vocabulary.
ペン、
Pen,
ペン、ペン。箸、
chopsticks,
は、し、箸。鉛筆、
pencil,
えんぴつ、鉛筆。これ、
this,
これ、これ。それ、
that,
それ、それ。
Let's review. Respond to the prompts by speaking aloud. Then repeat after me, focusing on pronunciation. Ready? Do you remember how to say the question marking particle? か か And how to say Japanese as in the language? 日本語 日本語 Do you remember how to say in Japanese? 日本語で日本語で And how to say the topic marking particle? はは Do you remember how Ben says, How do you say textbook in Japanese?
テキストブックは日本語で何と言いますか？
Textbook は日本語で何と言いますか？ Do you remember how to say textbook? 教科書教科書 Do you remember how Hannah says it's textbook?
教科書です。
教科書です。Do you remember how to say this? これこれ
Let's review the key words.
水、
Water,
水、水。バナナ、
banana,
バナナ、バナナ。あれ、
that over there,
あれ、あれ。これ、
this,
これ、これ。
Let's review. Respond to the prompts by speaking aloud. Then repeat after me, focusing on pronunciation. Ready? Do you remember how to say please? ください。ください。And how to say that? それ。それ。Do you remember how Ben says, that please?
それをください。
それをください。Do you remember how to say, yes? はい。はい。Do you remember how the clerk says, yes, here you are?
はい、どうぞ。
はい、どうぞ。Do you remember how to say, water? 水。水。And how to say banana? Banana. Banana. Do you remember how to say this? これこれ
Did you take your free level assessment yet? Here's an extra bonus resource you'll get when you take the assessment. When you receive your result and learning level, you also unlock a free language course for your specific level, so you can start learning and level up your language skills. Just click the link in the description to get access.
Let's review the new words.
牛乳
Milk,
牛乳牛乳りんご
apple,
りんごりんご胡椒
pepper,
胡椒胡椒砂糖
sugar,
砂糖砂糖
Let's review. Respond to the prompts by speaking aloud. Then repeat after me, focusing on pronunciation. Ready? Do you remember how to say, "Excuse me"? すみません。すみません。And how to say the question marking particle. かか Do you remember the polite way to say, "There is"? あります。あります。And how to say salt. 塩。塩。Do you remember how Sasha Lee says, "Excuse me, is there any salt"?
すみません。塩はありますか？
すみません。塩はありますか？ Do you remember how to say yes? はい。はい。And do you remember how the clerk says, "Yes, it's here"?
はい、こちらです。
はい、こちらです。Do you remember the word for apple? りんご。りんご。And the word for sugar. 砂糖。砂糖。Do you remember the word for milk? 牛乳。牛乳。
Let's review the new words.
コーヒー
Coffee,
コーヒーコーヒースイカ
watermelon,
スイカスイカそれ
that,
それそれ
Let's review. Respond to the prompts by speaking aloud. Then repeat after me, focusing on pronunciation. Ready? Do you remember the question marking particle? か and how to say how much. いくら、いくら。Do you remember how to say the topic marking particle? は、は。And how to say this? これ、これ。Do you remember how Bendy asks, how much is this?
これはいくらですか？
これはいくらですか？ Do you remember how to say yen? 円、円。And how to say 200? 200、200。Do you remember how the clerk says, it's 200 yen?
200円です。
200円です。Do you remember how to say coffee? コーヒー、コーヒー。And how to say watermelon? スイカ、スイカ。Do you remember how to say that? それ、それ。
Let's review the new words.
これ、
This,
これ、これ。会計、
check,
会計、会計。お会計、
the polite way to say check.
お会計、お会計。Let's review. Respond to the prompts by speaking aloud. Then repeat after me, focusing on pronunciation. Ready? Do you remember how to say, excuse me? すみません。すみません。And how to say, please? お願いします。お願いします。Do you remember the word for water? 水、水。Do you remember how Mark Lee says, excuse me, water please?
すみません。水をお願いします。
すみません。水をお願いします。Do you remember how to say, yes? はい。はい。Do you remember how the waiter says, yes, understood?
はい、かしこまりました。
はい、かしこまりました。Do you remember the polite way to say, check? お会計、お会計。And how to say, menu? メニュー、メニュー。 Do you remember how to say this? これ、これ。
Let's review the new words.
4つ、
4,
4つ、4つ。1つ、
1,
1つ、1つ。Let's review. Respond to the prompts by speaking aloud. Then repeat after me, focusing on pronunciation. Ready? Do you remember how to say please? ください、ください。And how to say the object marking particle? お、お。Do you remember how to say this or these? これ、これ。Do you remember how Karen Lee says, two of these please?
これを2つください。
これを2つください。Do you remember the polite way to say your order? ご注文、ご注文。And how to say the object marking particle? お、お。Do you remember how the server says, your order please?
ご注文をどうぞ。
ご注文をどうぞ。Using the general counter, do you remember how to say one? 一つ、一つ。And how to say three? 三つ、三つ。And how to say four? 四つ、四つ。Let's review. Respond to the prompts by speaking aloud. Then repeat after me, focusing on pronunciation. Ready? Do you remember how to say .com? .com, .com. And how to say inorang.com? inorang.com, inorang.com. Do you remember how to say @? アットマーク、アットマーク。And how to spell Karen? K-A-R-E-N, K-A-R-E-N. Do you remember how to say email address? メールアドレス、メールアドレス。And how to say my email address? 私のメールアドレス、私のメールアドレス。Do you remember how to say, as for my email address? 私のメールアドレスは、 私のメールアドレスは Do you remember how Karen says, My email address is karen@inorang.com
私のメールアドレスは karen@inorang.com です。
私のメールアドレスは karen@inorang.com です。Do you remember how to say, please? お願いします。お願いします。And how to say, Miss Lee? リーさん。リーさん。Do you remember how to say the object marking particle? お。お。Do you remember the clerk's request? Miss Lee, your email address, please.
リーさん、メールアドレスをお願いします。
リーさん、メールアドレスをお願いします。
Let's review the new words.
イギリス人。
British person.
イギリス人。イギリス人。オーストラリア人。
Australian person.
オーストラリア人。オーストラリア人。中国。
China.
中国。中国。中国人。
Chinese person.
中国人。中国人。Let's review. Respond to the prompts by speaking aloud. Then repeat after me, focusing on pronunciation. Ready? Do you remember how to say Japan? 日本。日本。And how to say Japanese as in a Japanese person? 日本人。日本人。Do you remember how to say yes? はい。はい。Do you remember how Miss Nagaoka says, Yes, I'm Japanese?
はい、日本人です。
はい、日本人です。Do you remember how to say the question marking particle? かか Do you remember how Miss Sasaki asks, Are you Japanese?
日本人ですか？
日本人ですか Do you remember how to say American as in a person from the United States of America? アメリカ人。アメリカ人。And how to say British as in a British person? イギリス人。イギリス人。 Do you remember how to say Australian, as in Australian person? オーストラリア人、オーストラリア人。And how to say no? いいえ、いいえ。
Let's review the new words.
野球、
Baseball,
野球、野球。旅行、
traveling,
旅行、旅行。漫画、
manga,
漫画、漫画。
Let's review. Respond to the prompts by speaking aloud. Then repeat after me, focusing on pronunciation. Ready? Do you remember how to say fishing? Suri, suri. And how to say hobby? 趣味、趣味。Do you remember the topic marking particle? は、は。And do you remember how Haruto says, "My hobby is fishing"?
趣味は釣りです。
趣味は釣りです。Do you remember the question marking particle? か、か。And how to say what? なん、なん。Do you remember how Shin asks, "What's your hobby?"
趣味は何ですか？
趣味は何ですか? Do you remember how to say baseball? 野球、野球。And how to say traveling? 旅行、旅行。Do you remember how to say 漫画？漫画、漫画。
Now, here's what you can do to cement this conversation in your head. Review the conversation with our dialogue tool and lesson transcripts. Study the key words and phrases with our spaced repetition flashcards. Review the key grammar and cultural tips inside the lesson notes. And test yourself with our assessment tests. So click the link in the description right now and sign up for your free lifetime account to access our Can-Do course.